Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining yet another What's New in ITOM AIOps. Today, we will be talking to you about what's new in the Q2 store release. Yeah, let's get started. So before we move on to the actual presentation, just some housekeeping things, which include a fantastic safe harbor notice for any forward-looking statements that we may make throughout the presentation or that may be answered through the Q&A today. So all the statements that we make and that we may type out are to the best of our knowledge right now, but please keep in mind that all these items that are not yet released are still subject to change. So please keep that in mind and do not make any purchasing decisions based off of these forward-looking statements, please. And if you are a big fan of these live on ServiceNow webinars that not only we hold as part of ITOM AIOps, but other BUs hold, I'm very biased towards the ITOM AIOps webinars though. Feel free to scan this QR code right here in order to look at what other webinars are upcoming. But for the context of ITOM webinars, we usually get them added to the ITOM registration list about a month to 3 weeks before the webinars start. So always keep your eye out for the latest and greatest that we want to talk to you about. And more housekeeping items. So we may have time at the end for Q&A. We'll see. We have a lot to talk about today. But we have a lot of experts on the call today with us, including outbound and inbound product management. So if you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A panel in Zoom. And if it's not available to you right now by default, make sure to click the More button in your Zoom navigation for this meeting, and then the Q&A option should be there. And after this event, you will be prompted for a short survey. So thank you in advance for your feedback. And for anyone who may ask, because people always ask, this webinar, since you are signed up today, it will be available on YouTube as well as the deck, but you will receive an email in about a week from now directly from Zoom with the links to these resources. So that is that. And just a few more things. If you want to access some more resources that we have here at ServiceNow, there's Impact, Training and Certification, as well as Expert Services. Feel free to scan any of these QR codes in the recording. Again, this deck will be available after, so you can always access these links through that as well. Or also just search them up, because it'll come up on whatever search engine you use likely. But on to the actual presentation. So I want to first ask, I recognize a lot of names here, but is this your first What's New in AIOps webinar? And I only ask because we host these actually every quarter and have been for the past 2 years now. So if this is your first one, I say keep an eye out every quarter for the next one. The next one will be in September of this year for the Zurich release. So please, I'd love to see you back. Otherwise, for the people who've been to many, because I recognize some of your names, thanks for coming, and as well as the people who've attended a few at this point. So keep returning. We host these every quarter, so you can learn the latest and greatest. And yeah, so thanks for that feedback, and I hope to see the people who said yes again in the near future. So today, what we're going to be covering is AIOps in its entirety, which includes AIOps, otherwise known as event management to some people, as well as service reliability management, service observability, as well as synthetic monitoring. We have Dennis, who's also an outbound product manager, who will be covering service reliability management, as well as Parker, who again is on the team, same team as us, who will be covering service observability and synthetic monitoring updates. And for those who didn't know, service observability and synthetic monitoring just went GA in the Yokohama release a few months back. And then we'll be going over more detailed product updates, demos, and I'll share some upcoming events and resources towards the end of the session. So looking at the three-year product evolution, we have released a lot in the past 3 years, and you can see how packed this Yokohama section is right here. This not only includes everything that came out in Yokohama, but also all the enhancements that came out with Q2 as well. So there's a lot to look at. Again, this deck will be available for you to look at after, but in short, you can see how much we've been releasing and how much we've been innovating and pushing the boundaries of AI ops over the past 3 years. And in case you want to learn a bit more beyond what we're showing today, beyond what's new, we are hosting a post K25 series. You don't have to have gone to K25 to attend these, but webinars where we have ITOM experts, including myself, as well as members of the ITOM Center of Excellence, talking about various topics in AIOps so that you can learn a bit more beyond just these release webinars, which are also very great. So I posted in the chat links to the past sessions that we've done, the recordings of those, as well as the link to where you can register not only for AIOps webinars like this one today, as well as the ones that I just showed you about um, for AIOps Power Hour as well. So feel free to sign up. And if you do, and if you already have, I will see you next week. But on to the actual release feature overview. So for AIOps, we've released quite a few things, and a lot of those things relate directly to AI. So I want to first understand, where are you today in the call on your AI adoption journey? Because there's a lot of new things about AI and kind of want to know where you all are right now. And I say that, and I'll let more people answer the question because one of the major releases that we've come out with is not one, but two agentic workflows. And Parker will talk about the other one later. I will go over these slides quite briefly because we have more detailed slides on the features I want to focus on. So I will skip over this briefly, but don't worry, I will come back to these in more detail shortly. But I see right now that in the poll I just triggered, a lot of people, the majority of people on this call today are researching Gen AI options. Um, and coming up in second is people are planning a pilot as well. So it's interesting to see where the majority of people are at today. Hopefully, this can help you understand what the Gen AI options as part of this release are. And we also have a lot more releases that we've had relating to Gen AI and also just regular AI with AI Ops for the past many releases that we've had as part of the product. And then for the overview of other features that have been released as part of this Q2 release of ITOM AIOps, I'll go over a few more of these in detail since I don't have slides on them. So one of the ones I want to highlight is that for Health Log Analytics, otherwise known as HLA, we are in the process, or we have restructured the components-based um, area of HLA alerts where we are removing the read-only alerts to reduce the noise in the data model for HLA alerts. And as a result of this, in upcoming releases, this will help enable the unification of grouping algorithms across AIOps. In addition, we are continuing to update the user experience for Health Log Analytics, which includes bringing in new out-of-the-box data inputs, as well as bringing this experience into the integrations launchpad for these new integrations as well. So as part of the Q2 release, in the integrations launchpad, we have a modernized experience and just new out-of-the-box inputs for Kafka, Splunk Polar, TCP, and UDP. So I don't have to say Splunk 3 times, as well as Azure Log Analytics. So if you are a HLA user and you want to integrate any of these types of log integrations, the experience will be very guided and streamlined within the integrations launchpad. As well as we have some new out-of-the-box metric connectors. So we have new ones for SolarWinds. Again, this is for metric intelligence, Zabbix, as well as Nagios. If you may be using any of the old versions of these connectors, though, please deactivate those before using these ones if you wanted to migrate over to the new out-of-the-box connectors. That being said, let's move on to the actual detailed slides, which I want to highlight the most today. So starting off with triage and analyze alerts agentic workflow. So this is one of two of the first agentic workflows part of ITOM as a whole. So AIOps did it first, as well as observability. Great. And this first agentic workflow, or one of two again, that we've released is focused on automating the initial parts of the operator experience when they are looking at alerts. And that is when they are triaging and analyzing alerts. So when operators are triaging and analyzing alerts, very often they are doing the same repetitive tasks, looking at historical incidents, looking at historical alerts, trying to identify if this is a significant issue, or maybe it's just something that happens really often and this can just be closed. But in the case where it is a significant issue, sometimes it can take additional time to look for any of the historical incidents that have happened, as well as understanding how people have resolved it in the past. Um, and so we want to automate this process because it's a really common task that operators have to go through when looking at alerts. And so that's what we did with this new agentic workflow that we've released. So I'll demo this, don't you worry. And this is part of the ITOM Professional or Enterprise Plus licensing, if anyone's wondering, because people always do wonder. But the main point of this is that by automating this initial triage and analyze process, we're enabling operators to be more efficient and also use their time towards other issues and other tasks that they may have, while the AI agents can do the initial work for them. And again, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. Please do not send them over the chat. That being said, just some fact sheets. So key parts of this is that what you'll need is the Analysis for ITOM Store app, which is part of the ITOM Professional Enterprise Plus licensing, and all the other Analysis and Agentic AI Store apps are also required, but that's kind of a longer list. And Yokohama Patch 3 will be needed as well. And as in terms of the sizing of the specific agentic workflow, it is a small one, so it consumes 25 assists per use. And for a very short demo today, I just want to show you the experience. So the agentic workflow can actually be triggered directly within the service operations workspace by clicking the analysis panel right here and starting a new conversation in this case. And it's as simple as just clicking the triage and analyze alerts button right here. And while we could sit through this entire thing while it triggers, it can be a bit longer, and we're very tight on time today because there's a lot to cover. We can see right now that it's looking through every single part. It's the AI agents are telling us exactly what they're doing, but in the interest of time, I just want to show you what it looks like in the end. So this, I promise, is a actual agentic workflow that's happened. And sorry if you hear the beeps. I think I'm sharing audio still. But we can see that when we end up prompting the triage and analyze agentic workflow to be triggered, we start seeing the processing steps, which includes figuring out the next steps and verifying this alert can be used for the agentic workflow for triage and analyze alerts. And then it then tells you exactly what it's going to be doing in case you were not already aware. And kicking off the entire process, we first want to make sure that it is assigned and it is assigned to the right team as well. And so if you're assigned to multiple teams, you'll get multiple options, but if you're only part of one team, you'll have this alert automatically assigned to that team. And in this case, I put one, and so it assigned it to flow stars. And we can see while it's working that the activity nodes are actually being updated with what's being changed and also what's being recorded as well. So we go further, we see a general summary of the alert, and then we go into alert analysis. And this may be a bit familiar to you because this is an existing skill that we have that is extremely important to the initial triage and analysis process of alerts. And so without having to manually trigger alert analysis, which you could have otherwise done here, it's now done automatically in the workflow itself. And so then it moves on to analyzing past occurrences of the alert, which is something that's completely new. We did not have a skill that did this before, where we're now looking at past alerts and trying to understand the urgency of this alert or the lack of urgency if it's happening very often and you automatically close it. But based off this analysis of alerts, of past alerts that have been identified as similar, that are on the same metric type, or metric name, I mean, we have identified that this alert is likely to be significant. And so, because of this, we're investigating it further since it's deemed to be significant. So now we want to look at historical incidents that could be helpful in resolving this issue. And so we can also see the processing steps that the agents are taking in order to arrive at this next point. And so this is where alert investigation comes in, if you're already familiar, which is one of the other analysis skills that we released back in November of last year. And similar to how it's always been, we summarize the key information on the incidents, and if there are any resolution notes for these incidents that have been closed or resolved, we also summarize the resolution steps right here, and then we link directly to all the incidents as well. And again, all this information we can see is being saved in the work notes as well. And at the point when we have everything done, the agents will prompt you again to ask how else they can help you. And this is kind of where I'm going to leave it off because Parker will show you how the agentic observability workflow can build off of this initial triage and analysis experience and leverage information from your other tools as well. So I'll keep you on your toes for that, but Parker will show you the rest of the magic later. So moving on to the other features I want to talk about today, and that includes Health Log Analytics Quick Start. So we want to make it much easier for you to get started with Health Log Analytics by simplifying the initial setup of new log integrations, where by default, you will be able to identify anomalies purely based off of timestamp, severity, and lexical keywords. Lexical keywords are the bad words that we want to be identified in the logs for the initial anomaly detection for HLA. And this will be default for new log integrations. But at the point when you're ready to move on to the full extraction and parsing of logs for HLA, you'll be able to easily enable that within the source type structure. So again, we're trying to make it easier for you to get started with HLA, and this is just one of the steps, in addition to how we're also making the setup and integration experience for HLA much easier within Integrations Launchpad. So this is part of our big evolution in the user experience for HLA. So if you haven't already heard about all this stuff, you could also listen to the Q1 webinar talking about the experience in more detail about Integrations Launchpad for log integrations. And then moving on to the midlist ingest of AWS Firehose logs, I mainly talked about the new out-of-the-box integrations for Splunk, and all Kafka and Azure. But we also have a new out-of-the-box integration for AWS Firehose. And the reason why this one is especially special and needed its own slide is because we're actually supporting a midlist ingest. So no mid server is needed for the integration of this specific source, which is AWS Firehose. So we're able to actually leverage ITOM gateway, which is part of the HLA architecture when you go through the requests for HLA scaling. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But what we're doing is that the ITOM gateway can now directly ingest logs in OTLP format from AWS Firehose and in future releases other sources as well that are in this format, so that it decouples the dependency on mid servers and makes it a lot easier for you to get started with logs from sources like AWS Firehose that are in the OTLP log format. And like I said, ITOM Gateway is required for this, for the direct ingestion without a mid. At first, this is stage 1 for AWS Firehose logs. And to request this, if you are a HLA user, you'll have to open a support case in ServiceNow support for HLA scaling. But this is just first of many, so get ready for the what's new later this year or in the future. That'll talk about expanded support as well. And for the last two enhancements that I want to release and new features that I want to focus on for today are both relating to alert automation. So alert automation is our ongoing effort of centralizing event rules, alert management rules, all these other terms that you're probably familiar of if you're a long-time ServiceNow AIOps user within the service operations workspace, because we want to centralize as much information in a single workspace without forcing you to navigate to several other pages, which could make it very hard for new people to get onboarded for AIOps, especially admin users, and just make the experience overall not pleasant. But I can say personally, it's a lot more pleasant now that I can just be in the service operations workspace and do all of these things. So starting off with alert CI identification, and again, if you're a longtime user, this would otherwise be known as override CI binding in event rules. We're now centralizing this in the enrich alerts section of alert automation to make it a lot easier for you to gain value out of binding CIs to your alerts so that you can leverage more information from the CMDB if you'd like to, um, on an alert basis. Again, this is not entirely required. You can still get a lot of value out of event management if you're not necessarily binding right away, but this will help you on your journey for a very robust solution and experience with event management. So this is just one of the things that we have introduced that is part of event rules right now, but now we're making it part of alert automations too. And we provide very prescriptive instructions and guidance on what exactly you need to do in order to override this binding or to, in general, identify the CI that's related to these alerts that you have coming in. And you can also leverage existing capabilities within enrich alerts like extract fields and copying or compose alerts in order to move around the alert information in order to serve your purposes for CI identification. And the other feature I want to talk about that we've also centralized is also configuring response actions. So this was previously, or it still is, but now we're centralizing it again within the service operations workspace, which was originally part of alert management rules. But now without having to navigate out there, you can enable your response actions directly within the service operations workspace in the respond to alert section of alert automation. And I will just go straight into the demo because it's probably easier at this point to show you. So again, we're in alert automations. It is this one icon down here. And right now, or previously, there are only these three options: extract, copy, or compose, and change alert values. And now we have another option for improving CI identification. And so, like I said, we provide very prescriptive guidance on identifying first which CI class you'd like to use, and then more information and links on how to identify running CIs on a host, as well as how to use additional info fields to match to your CI attributes as well. So all of this is here just within the service operations workspace, and you don't necessarily now have to navigate out to find this information, which is really great. And last but not least, before I wrap it up and hand it over to Dennis, is in the response area now for the create automation for response actions. There's the new option for run other response actions, and I can choose any subflow that I'd like, which can include any of these, Azure Data Cleanup, for example. Choose the subflow similar to the experience and alert management rules. And then if you'd like, apologies, to review this subflow, you can easily just click this, the magnifying glass, and it'll navigate you directly to Flow Designer. So now you don't have to go into Flow Designer by searching it up right here. Right here, it would be right here. You are directly linked to it, and it reduces, again, the complexity when setting up your response actions. And that wraps it up for me today, and I will hand it over to Dennis.
Thanks, Victoria. Let me share my screen. Right. So I'll cover SRM. I'm not going to spend too much time because I do want Parker to cover the agentic observability integration that we have. So I'm going to cover SRM, which is Service Reliability Management. If you're not familiar with SRM, it empowers teams to deliver always-on digital services by combining on-call management, real-time alerting, and service level tracking into a single integrated workflow. It's also built on the Now platform, and it replaces fragmented tools with a more unified solution designed to enable boost productivity, accelerate resolution times, and improve service reliability all at scale. So before I continue, we do have a question. So what best describes your organization's current approach to reliability management? Right. Mm, right. I think, looks like most folks are using basic monitoring and alerting for reliability. If you're not sure, ad hoc or reactive is after that, and then that's good. Some 12% is mature in this space. All right, we'll end the poll there and share results. Okay, and I'll continue. So for SRM, the major feature I'll be covering is ITOM Mobile. So SRM, when we started off, the workflows were desktop bound, requiring responders to be at their desks to take actions on alerts as well as incidents. So with this release, we're bringing ITOM Mobile is bringing incident response directly to your mobile devices, enabling responders to acknowledge, assign, and manage alerts from anytime and from anywhere. Responders are we going to be receiving a real-time push notification for critical alerts and can immediately act through the ServiceNow Agent app, which is available today via the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. It's called the ServiceNow Agent. You do need to activate the ITOM Mobile Agent plugin, which also enables the ITSM Mobile Agent plugin as well. So this solution is actually based on and built on top of the ITSM Mobile Agent. Some minor features that we have. The first one is we're integrating with the integration launchpad. So before that, we were using a kind of a custom integration. So now we're integrating with the out-of-the-box AIOps integration launchpad that you have today. So we're going to basically be benefiting on all the new features and functionality that the AIOps product team deliver and leveraging those functionality. The next one is some SRM enhancements and improvements, really improving the on-call management that we have today, improving the escalation workflows, as well as usability features, really closing the gap on uh, how we bring this solution to market. The final minor enhancement is SLO. We're making SLO management a lot smarter and more actionable. So now we're able to track not just at a service level, but also at a CI level. So if there's a parent-child relationship with your CIs, we're now able to track at that level as well. So basically be able to provide better visibility into your service dependencies that are affecting your reliability. So going back into ITOM Mobile Agent, so again, we're bringing this capability right into your pocket, enabling on-call responders, again, as well as team leads, platform owners, and the like, to basically be able to take action, really from anytime and anywhere. Is built into the existing ServiceNow Agent app. So this is our first mobile experience to extend the functionality of SRM. So without requiring you to invest or use third-party tools here. So responders can again receive instant push notifications, acknowledge and assign. And again, I'll show you this in the demo. So what's also interesting here is that we're not starting from scratch. We're leveraging the proven capabilities that you have with ITSM Mobile. And some of the functionality that this solution provides is AI search. So responders can use natural language to search on incident, task, and knowledge articles. We also have the ability to override Do Not Disturb for critical alerts. We also have custom critical alert ringtones as well, if you want distinctive tones for certain types of alerts, as well as integration with collaboration services like Zoom, Teams, uh, and Slack. And again, with this release, we're basically delivering a fully integrated mobile native incident response solution and experience. I'll stop here uh, and I'll show a quick demo. Screen, share, full screen. Right. I'm going to spend too much time here. So for you to turn this on, if you're using SRM, there's this notion of teams where basically you're enabling these teams to basically have self-service to create teams, set up integrations, setting up notifications and things like that. So if I go into this today, I go into my escalation triggers and policies, and all you're really doing is going to the escalation notification section. And when you select here for this first attempt, you're going to select it here and the mobile app push notification. That's all you really need to do, right? Next is once you do have an alert, and we're going to go into it. So you're going to get a notification on your mobile device. Once you have the app, you can select it, and it'll bring you right into the ServiceNow agent app. And here it is. Here's my configuration item. You'll get to see all the activities. So again, you don't need to be, bound or constrained to your desktop. You can do what you need to do on your mobile device. So all the activity is going to be documented here, as well as if there's related alerts that's associated with this critical alert that came through, as well as any alert executions. Basically, what Victoria showed you before, you can also set up some automation that occurs here as well. If you go back to the main page, you can see all of your work, so all your alerts, all the incidents that's assigned to you, and some more information below, as well as your team works, your team, what they're working on as well. If you have the major incident management plugin, your integration will show up here as well as notifications. I will share a link to a more extensive blog post as well as a video on the chat without going into too much details here because I do want to hand it over to Parker. So I'll stop there and I'll end it back on this presentation. So to wrap it up, so why we added it, it's really to improve service reliability for your responders. So before that, you're really bound to your desktop. Now we unlock it where you can have the ability to investigate in your mobile device. So how do you activate it? There does require the ITOM mobile agent, as well as the ITSM mobile agent. Keep in mind, if you don't have the ITSM mobile agent, if you just turn on the ITOM mobile agent, it'll also install the ITSM mobile agent as well. On your phone, you do need to install the ServiceNow agent app, which is available on the App Store and Google Play Store. From a licensing standpoint, nothing changes. If you have ITOM Pro, you do need ITSM standard. To use SRM, the mobile capability is just part of that package. From a technical standpoint, again, it's improving the speed and efficiency for responders so they can manage alerts as well as incidents directly on their mobile device. And again, it consolidates a lot of tasks that the various teams need to do. Before and after, again, before you're bound to the desktop, after you have the ability to receive mobile push notifications based on how you set up your escalation triggers to go out and respond to this. So I'll end it there and hand it over to Parker. If you have any questions, please post it on Q&A. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Dennis. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay, so I'm going to talk about service observability and synthetic monitoring. As mentioned earlier, service observability is a tool that we released last quarter as part of the Yokohama release. And the goal is to provide a new kind of destination within the service operations workspace that gives you dashboards that show you the kind of most important metrics coming from your services and the infrastructure that run them. We build this in a kind of unique way in that we pull data remotely from the APM and observability vendors that you already have. So if you're using New Relic and Dynatrace today, with more providers coming down the future, we can connect to those tools and remotely query them so that operators, when they're triaging alerts in ExpressList or looking at a service map, if they want to get more information about the health of those services, they can now go to a new monitoring hub. We are expanding on that Yokohama release with some new features. One of the big ones here is this agentic observability. So what's exciting here is that it expands on the workflows that Victoria showed earlier. We know as we've kind of built up the platform over the years, and as especially we've built ITOM to integrate with a bunch of other tools, that there are just parts or some types of data, some types of information and context that other tools will have that ServiceNow doesn't. We can pull in events and metrics and logs and stuff from a bunch of other tools and ACC. But tools like New Relic have their own agents, and teams use them for specific reasons. And as we are building up Now Assist, we went and talked to New Relic and we talked to Kentic, and we are talking with some additional providers, as you can see on the screen later this year. And what's very exciting is that we found that they're all building up their AI agents as well. And so we've built this integration we call agentic observability, and it essentially allows you to invoke Now Assist to ask questions about things like alert impact or root cause. And then we will reach out to those providers. We'll reach out to their agents, and our agents will collaborate. They'll get things like charts, they'll get impact summaries, they'll bring that context back into ITOM, and then they will figure out how to present that to our operators, to our users. So I'll have a demo of this in just a little bit, picking up where Victoria left off, but it's a really exciting area of development for us. And as I mentioned, we're starting with New Relic and Kentic. We also have dashboard customizations. So one of the cool things that we've built are these new landing pages, these new overview health dashboards and observability dashboards that show you things like throughput, latency, and error rate. They show you disk utilization and other resource utilization metrics from a compute perspective. We have database metrics and application metrics, with more coming. And we've built a lot of these that just work out of the box, but we know that there's also a need to customize these dashboards. And so with the May release, we're rolling out the ability to customize the dashboards that we give you. So if you have services that are pulling data, or you have a set of services, they're using New Relic as the kind of data source, and you might say, well, I want to make this chart larger, or I don't need a memory utilization chart. You can make those changes and then roll them out to anybody who is using that particular integration. So it really lets you tailor service observability to fit the needs of your individual teams and your business. We've also got some administration improvements. This is essentially geared towards making service observability easier to adopt and easier to administer. You no longer have to set up SRMs, Service Reliability Management, in order to use service observability. And you can also bulk add services to service observability. So if you want to configure a bunch of services in bulk and you want to add service observability dashboards, you can now do that. And then finally, we have a new integration with Datadog. So in addition to Dynatrace and New Relic, we've got an integration with Datadog. Again, I'll just emphasize, if you haven't had a chance to look into service observability yet, it's really unique in that it remotely queries these destinations. You don't need to configure ingestion. You don't need to bring the metrics on platform. Anytime you load up a dashboard, we go and query these providers, and we have agreements with them to make sure that performance is paramount, that both sides of the equation are responsive, and it's just a really exciting time. So Datadog is coming this quarter. We've got more integrations coming with other providers, with the ability to support metric-based and ACC metrics and cloud providers later this year. So with that, I will actually just go right through the synthetic monitoring pieces as well, and then I'll do a demo of both of them together. I think I might be in the wrong deck, Victoria. I might have missed the poll, but
You can go ahead.
okay. So we also have synthetic monitoring. This is something we rolled out last quarter, and what's useful with synthetic monitoring in ITOM. So if you don't know, synthetic monitoring is a tool that lets you send health checks. It's a way to make sure kind of 24/7, 365, you have something making checks against your websites or your API resources to make sure that they are responding, and that they are responding quickly. And so you can run these checks from ACC instances. That was part of what we launched back in Yokohama. You configure them from within the service operations workspace. And now you'll be able to run these from your ServiceNow instance as well. So this is a useful thing, not only just because it is quick to get up and running. You don't have to worry about getting like ACC instances deployed. You can just simply deploy synthetic checks that get executed directly from your ServiceNow instance. But that also has reliability implications as well. Like we have our ServiceNow data centers that are super reliable, very resilient. And so you can also just be sure that you have a constant source of uptime validation and performance validation coming from something that you don't have to host. So you can imagine a world where maybe you have like a major incident and your ACC instances are unable to reach the internet. They can't reach ServiceNow, or maybe all of your ACC instances in a region go offline. Well, if you have a ServiceNow running check or a ServiceNow hosted check, you'll be the first to know. And it is executed, sends an alert directly into Express List and goes through that triage process. We also have some new monitor types. We launched with just support for status code, but we'll have response time as well as response body, which is really useful. So if you want to not only make sure that like you're returning 200s instead of 500s, you can also make sure that if you expect something to respond in less than a second, you can set that criteria as well. And with that, I will jump into a quick demo. Okay, so let's start with service observability. So very briefly, I'll just breeze through this just in case you've had a chance to use service observability today and you're looking for maybe a more seamless way to manage this. If you go to the Service Operations Workspace Admin Center, you will see once you update the store app, the service observability pane on the left here. And this is a place where you can assign administrators. This is really useful just to make sure that you have folks who are credentialed to make deployments of service observability, and also importantly, make changes to these dashboards that I'll show you in just a moment. But you can also configure your data sources, New Relic and Dynatrace. I don't think we have the Datadog integration on this instance, but Datadog shows up here as well. And then data mappings as well. So the area where you can actually configure how to tie an ITOM service to a service observability integration. Now we'll go into dashboard customization. So the first thing, this is the service observability dashboard. If you've not seen one, you can see we're looking at a checkout service, and it's this new overview landing page that we land on. And there's a bunch of really useful metrics here. Apologies, looks like we have just some change information that's being weird, but we have SLOs, we have open incidents, open alerts, that sort of thing. And we have these charts at the top too that are being loaded from New Relic. We also have this certified label. So this means that I'm currently looking at the version of this dashboard that was shipped with service observability. But let's say I want to change that. It's super easy to do. I can go into duplicate. We'll make a copy of this dashboard, and then from here, I can go ahead and select one of these charts. Maybe I don't need error rate. I can delete that. I'll scroll back up, and now I have a little bit of room to make our throughput rate chart bigger. So I can make these changes. I can even change like the way that they are visualized, the type of graph that they're loading with. But I'll start with this super simple one, and I'll click Save and exit editing mode. And now we have this updated UI that I've kind of customized to meet my needs. And if I decide, or if somebody on the team, starts complaining and I need to roll this back, I can just really quickly reset to certified, and it just goes back to how it was out of the box. Now we'll roll into the agentic observability. So I'm now in Express List, and I'm looking at a bunch of alerts. So I will go ahead and pick one of these. We will do this internet banking. So I can select my internet banking, and this is very similar to the workflow that Victoria mentioned. But I can just say, what are some probable causes for alert or and in the background, we'll figure out there's a router that kind of looks at this. I don't know what I spelled. Oops. This is why I try and copy and paste these. So I'll move over here. There, okay, I apologize. So you can ask it like, what are some probable cause theories? What's the impact analysis? I was getting ready for this demo. I wanted to have kind of the language right. Um, but it's not so so rigid in real life. This is just our demo environment. But what happens here, I can ask a question and it asks me if I want to invoke the agent. So I've done that, and then you can see these AI agent processing steps. So it goes through, it has me provide an alert record, and then it will go and start reaching out to our New Relic agent friends. So it executes this New Relic analysis. It fetches an insights report that their agent generates. It tells us that the user impact is unknown, but the probable cause theories include anomalies in golden metrics, including CPU usage, storage usage, network traffic transmission. There's a bunch of context in here that ServiceNow might not have, or that would be otherwise very cumbersome to get into ServiceNow. And if I want to dig into this more deeply, or if I want to escalate this issue to another like an SME, I have the link to the insights report, and this will take me right into New Relic. It will show me the insight report that their agent created. So that's the agentic workflow. Apologies for the glitches there. But the last thing that I will note is the synthetic agent, or the synthetic updates. So there's some updates we've made for administration. You can now like really quickly in synthetic monitoring filter for things directly in the kind of landing page. So I can see all of my production monitors. I can see that, one is pending, one is failing. That's no good. But I can also really quickly set up new monitors. So I can click on new. And this is a really simple, you can do this in 30 seconds. You give the monitor a name. Let's new test. Oops. You select an endpoint. So I'll use this HTTP event endpoint we use for testing. You can specify a service so that if you trigger an alert, it gets mapped to the service automatically. You can then come and choose your location. And this is where you can choose like the ServiceNow instance or any of your ACC instances. So you can select the ServiceNow instance. You have 6 tests per minute that you can run from these locations as we kind of roll out the feature. And then you can select that new criteria that I mentioned. So I can say, tell me if the response time is less than 1000 milliseconds or a second. I can also say, tell me if the status code is anything but 200 OK. And then I can say, run it every 5 minutes. And if there's an alert, send me a critical, or if there's a failure, send me a critical alert. And that's it. That's all it takes to kind of get up and running. And then we save the monitor and it goes and gets deployed and starts running in the background. So super easy. After a few minutes, this will populate with its test results. And it's just a really useful feature, I think, made even more useful by the fact that you can run them from ACC and your Glide instance simultaneously. So that's it for the ITOM observability, the service observability, and the synthetic monitoring updates. I will pass back to Victoria to wrap up our session.
Thanks, Parker. There's also a few questions in the Q&A that
Oh yeah, I'll take a look.
you could answer them live if you'd like, because we have a bit of time, or you can just answer them in the module. Up to you.
Yeah, okay, I'll answer them in the module.
Okay. Also, Ronnie, there's one question that you may be able to help better with than me about language support for Gen AI. But while we make our way through the questions that are still unanswered, let me share some additional resources with you. And also, if you do have any questions still while we are all here, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. That being said, in the next 2 weeks, actually, we will have a AIOps office hours kind of centralized around this release. So after this webinar, if you think about implementing anything or have any questions about or additional questions about this quarter's release, please feel free to come to the AIOps office hours in June. I can't recall if it's on and available for registration right now, but it should be. So we'll be there again to answer any and all of your questions. So other than that, though, we have quite a few upcoming events coming up, including, again, the ongoing AIOps Power Hour series post K25 edition. I already shared that with you at the beginning of today, as well as more What's New in AIOps webinars. So if you have any team members in APAC or in Japan, we'll be hosting sessions later in the day to accommodate for those times, as well as in Japanese. So if you have any of those, they will be available for registration through the links I sent. And then we have some upcoming AIOps workshops for customers as well, like yourselves here today. We have one actually today, I should probably remove that, in Dubai, as well as we'll have one in Johannesburg later next month, as well as Vienna. And then as for North America, we'll have one in a few weeks in Dallas. We'll also have one in Toronto and Atlanta and likely New York City, but not all these registration links have been put up yet. So check back often at that blog post I just shared in the chat. And then we shared some resources today already. Dennis shared some about SRM. But in case you want access to more resources on AIOps and service observability and so on, here are also some additional links to more videos, more blog posts, and so on that can help you on your AIOps journey. So if you don't have any questions, thanks for coming today. Otherwise, feel free to put any questions you have left in the chat, and we'll stick around for a few more minutes until the questions trickle off. And Dennis, thank you again for posting the mobile demo in the chat again. So yeah, thanks for coming today. And hopefully see you next week or at the next What's New in AIOps webinar for Zurich.